last of his tea. Guess he's forgotten all about it. Mrs. Cavell has started to get up. Now she sits back down, giving him an almost startled look. Oh, no, not at all, she says. He remembers. Not like you and I, perhaps, but he remembers things. He'll probably have nightmares tonight. And when we go into his room, his father and me, he won't be able to explain. That's the worst for him. He can't tell what it is he sees and thinks and feels. He doesn't have the vocabulary. She sighs. In any case, those boys won't forget about him. What if they're laying for him now? What if they're laying for you? We can take care of ourselves. To walk home on his own so much. It makes him feel like a big boy, Pete says.
So it's taking you a while to get up out that bed.
Pete's hand, making him blush. Would that be okay, Mrs. Cavell? Beaver asks her. Because we could do it easy. Or maybe you don't want us to. Something complicated happens to Mrs. Cavell's face. There are all those little twitches, mostly under the skin. One eye almost winks, and then the other one does wink. She takes a handkerchief from her pocket and blows her nose. Beaver thinks, he's trying not to laugh at us. When he tells Henry that as they are walking home, Jonesy and Pete already dropped off, Henry will look at him with utter astonishment. Cry is what she's trying not to do, he will say. And then, affectionately, after a pause, dope. You would do that? She asks. And when Henry nods for all of them, she changes the question slightly. Why would you do that? Henry looks around as if to say, someone else take this one, will you? Pete says, we like him, ma'am. Jonesy is nodding. I like the way he carries his lunchbox over his head. Yeah, that's bitchin', Pete says. Henry. Okay, Henry says. We'll come by 7:45, walk into school, and we'll walk home with him, too. He gets out at... we know what time the Retard Academy gets out, Beaver says cheerfully, and realizes a second before he sees the others' stricken faces that he's said something a lot worse than bitchin'. Henry says, he's talking rapidly, which he only does when he's embarrassed. He just, I don't mind, he says. I know what people call it. Sometimes Alfie and I call it that ourselves. This topic, incredibly, hardly seems to interest her. Why? She says again. And all that the Duddits came and played it incessantly, sometimes laughing so hard that Alfie Cavell, sitting there all the time on the rug beside the big old Parkman cribbage board, feet folded under him and grinning like Buddha. What a fuckery. All of that ahead of them. But now, just this kitchen and the surprising sun and Duddits outside pushing the swing. You're in the same way, she says. I hope you never understand. Jonesy! Ooga! Pawooga! A noise that surely would have made Duddits laugh until he cried. A sucker for big juicy noises, that had been old Duds. The filmy blue shower curtain rustled, and the beeve's arms broke out in lush bundles of goose flesh. For a moment, he almost leapt up, thinking that it was McCarthy, then realized he'd brushed the curtains. No animals now. The stampede had stopped, and there was only him, the gaspy sound of his breathing and the stifled moans of pain each time his knee bumped. He could feel sweat running down his arms and back, but his feet remained numb, and so did his hands. He might have given up, but halfway along the straight stretch, he caught sight of the fire he and Henry had made. It had burned down considerably, but it was there. Pete began to crawl toward it, and each time he bumped his leg and the bolts of agony came, he tried to project them into the orange spark of the fire. He wanted to get there. It hurt like too perfect hell to move, but oh, how he wanted to get there. He didn't want to die freezing to the little swirl of sparks. Come on, motherfucker, I'm hot, I'm tasty, and I'm waiting. Nothing. But it was up there. He couldn't wait long, he was sure of it. Soon it would come. Time passed in his own head, and he thought, Banbury Cross, ride a cock horse to Banbury Cross. The stick burned down further, closer to his hand,
and Pete wondered what he'd do if it burned down too far to be of use, if the thing up there could outweigh him after all. And then a new thought. We're one big, hot, radioactive his head, making him feel half mad with their babble, as Duditz's crying had always made.
Don't. Nous sommes sans défense. Nous sommes sans.
Then the human thunder began in the west, and Henry put his hands to his head, thinking that the screams and the pain in there would tear it apart. The bastards were slaughtering them. Pete sat by the fire, unmindful of the bellows of pain from his separated knee, unaware that he was now holding the branch from the fire up beside his temple. The screams inside his head could not quite drown out the sound of the machine guns in the west, big machine guns. To his feet, for the time being at least, his bulging knee did not hurt at all, and swung his burdened right arm at one of the lean-to's support posts in a great sweeping roundhouse. There was a crunch, and the chittering sound was replaced by muffled squealing. For one endless moment, the knot of teeth